Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Joffrey Noodle Legs here, and we're going to be doing a top 10 today. Because I've not done too many of them lately. I'll be doing the top 10 of my favourite haunting horror films. So these are haunted things, so sort of ghosts or haunted houses and things like that. So this is my top 10. But first, before we get to the 10, I've got one honourable mention, which was a BBC TV sort of spoof documentary, which was called Ghost Watch. This came out in the 80s, and it was sort of like aired on, I think, Halloween in the 80s, and it was sort of like, when this came out, it could have been the 90s actually. When this came out, it was like at the height of BBC sort of doing documentaries about everything. And so they did this one on Halloween, where it was like Michael Parkinson from the studio sort of like got other presenters out of this house that's supposed to be having sort of like haunting sort of like strange things going on. And it sort of like unfolded and was really tacky and cheesy, but great fun. And it did have a lot of atmosphere. And I think that kicked off a lot of films that's in the top 10. Because I think a lot of these probably wouldn't be made if Ghost Watch wasn't sort of made. Anyway, we'll get cracking on with the top 10. Number 10 is a comedy haunting film with Gene Wilder and Dom DeLuise, and it's called Haunted Honeymoon. And it's about they go into this house, and all the family members are there because one of the family members has died, and they're all there for the will reading sort of thing. And it's just like so many different sort of capers take off in the film. And Dom DeLuise is absolutely fantastic in this film, and of course Gene Wilder's an absolute legend. But yeah, it's a slapstick sort of typical, almost Mel Brooksy kind of film, but it's not by Mel Brooks, but it is his kind of sort of style of film. This was directed by Gene Wilder, and it's great fun. Haunted Honeymoon in at number 10. Number 9 is a film, I think it was come out in the 90s, with Nicole Kidman, called The Others. And this is about a woman who's got these two children. She's quite a wealthy woman, and she believes that these two children have this sort of allergy to light. And so she locks up all these sort of like windows and stuff like this, and she gets like this housemaid in and things like this, and there's something mysterious about her in the house which unfolds in the story. And it's a very sort of like, if you've seen The Sixth Sense, that sort of story that unfolds like, and it's got that sort of surprise sort of ending. It's that kind of film. Really cool film, and it is about sort of like a haunted house really. And it's really cool. The Others in at number 9. Number 8 is an 80s classic, and it's called The Amityville Possession, Amityville 2. This is the second in the Amityville films. This needs an upgrade now. It really does need a Blu-ray release. And this is about a family that's moved into the Amityville house. And the son there starts getting all possessed by all the sort of stuff that's going on in the house, and because there's a history of the house, and he sort of like gets sucked into it, a little bit like The Shining, if you like. You know, when he gets sucked into the history of the hotel, this lad gets sucked into the history of the house, and he sort of like then terrorizes his family and stuff like that, and he becomes quite evil and that. But it is a really cool film. Again, it's about the house that's sort of like haunted by the past, and that's Amityville 2, The Possession. That's in at number 8. Number 7 is one of my favourite films, one of my favourite film franchises. It's quite low down because there's other great films, because this film doesn't just belong in haunting, it belongs in all sorts of different categories. But I've put in the Paranormal Activity, which is a fantastic film. It's about a young couple that are experiencing these sort of haunting, sort of ghostly experiences in their house. And the story sort of folds into a whole series of films. about sort of like a demon almost following the family around. And it's a really kind of scary sort of film. And this is one that's just so spooky and full of jump scares. I saw this in a cinema and I absolutely crapped myself watching it. It's still really scary today. It's really held up well, I think, because it's filmed like on sort of like a video recorder. It's got that sort of found footage sort of feel about it. Because this can belong in like a demon films. It can belong in like found footage films. It's a really cool film. Paranormal Activity, number 7. Number 6 is based on a true story in Hertfordshire, Enfield in Hertfordshire, and it's The Conjuring 2. This is the second in the franchise, and this one takes place in England, in Enfield, where this family are experiencing hauntings of like an old man who used to live in the house, and he's sort of like creeping at all the young children in the family. So they call over the investigators to come and help solve what's actually wrong in the house, and they find out it's this old man that's still sort of like haunting the place. And it is based on a true story. The Conjuring 2, fantastic, in at number 6. So we're down to the top 5. And you know I love number 5 because I've talked about it so many times. The one with Rebecca Hall, and it's called The Awakening. She's like this sort of investigator that tries to prove that these ghosts and hauntings are not real. And she goes to this old sort of like school, and she's there with the kids and stuff. It's based not long after the war, and she goes there, and because they said it's been haunted by the ghost of some child, and all sort of things go in the film. Is it haunted or isn't it? It's one of those sort of films to watch. And I think she gets a bit of surprise in the film as well. And there's a little love story going on with her and the teacher that works there as well. Fantastic film, really eerie, very atmospheric, and a great costume sort of ghost story. Fantastic. Top 4. Number 4 is a classic with James Brolin. I think this came out in the 1970s, and it's the Amityville Horror. Now this is again supposedly based on a true story of this house that's supposed to be haunted. And it's about a new family that just moved into the house, and they start experiencing very strange supernatural experiences that again sort of drives family members a bit mad. Not too different to the second one, but it's an absolute classic film, edge of the seat stuff, really cool. Amityville Horror is number 4. So number 3 is a 1960s horror film called The Haunting. Again, it's another haunted house, and this is about a house that suffers this haunting by this woman and some sort of children and stuff like this in the house. They did do a remake of this in the 90s with Catherine Zeta-Jones and I can't remember who else was in it. But yeah, it's quite an all-star cast. They did a remake, but I actually prefer the original because it's got more of an atmosphere to it. I found it a bit more scary. Yeah, it's black and white, but it's still really cool. I'm not giving you a big synopsis on these because I want you to discover them yourself, or I'll save those for when I do reviews on my channel. But yeah, my third favourite sort of haunting film is The Haunting. Number 2 is another old one. I think it's come out in 1980 or 81 or something like that. And it I'm trying to see the year on it. It's definitely an 80s film, but it stars George C. Scott, and it's called The Changeling. This is again about a guy. I think it's just recently lost his sort of family, and he's in this place where he's sort of experiencing all these ghostly experiences in his house. So again, it's one of those sort of films that sort of unwinds as it sort of goes on. Lemon Law just confirmed it's 1979. I don't know why I had it in my head it was an 80s film. Just feels like an 80s film, I think. But George C. Scott stars in it. You may remember him starring in the Exorcist 3, which is really another good film. But yeah, it's a really cool sort of haunting film. Again, I'm not going to give you any plot because this one I will be doing a review on my channel in the new, not too distant future. So The Changeling is my second favourite haunted film. So my number one can only be the one that I always shout about that gets mixed reviews, but I absolutely love the film, and it's the one starring Daniel Radcliffe in The Woman in Black. It's a great story, a famous sort of story. It's been done as a play, it's done as a TV sort of like film before this in like the 80s, and it's even spawned like a second one, but this is fantastic. It's about he's a works for like a solicitor's, and he's gone to this old house to sort out the papers of this woman that's died there. And while she's at this house, he discovers the history of the family and what's gone on. Because the house is very haunted, all the local people are very scared of the house. They don't want him to be there. They experience a lot of problem with children in the village. And there's some story of like the child that lived in the house with the woman that sort of haunted the house and the local sort of village area. And the house is sort of set on like an island just off the village, and sometimes when the tide comes in, you're sort of like separated. You can't get back to the town, and he experiences all these jump scares, and it's really creepy. It is based, I think, in like sort of Victorian kind of time. It's really good costumes. It's absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love this. It's so British, it's unreal, and it's a great Hammer film. It's one of the sort of like Hammer's more sort of recent sort of films. It's fantastic, and that is my favourite haunting horror film, The Woman in Black. Fantastic, and that is my top 10. I hope you like that, because I've not done it for a while. But yeah, it's always good to jump into these now and again and give you a top 10. I am doing these my favourite top fives of the 80s at the moment. I've done 1980. I'll be doing 1981 soon. I'll be picking out my top 5 favourite films of that year. Anyway, guys, till the next video, please check out some horror channels. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man Every Film, Horror Designs. Pizzlewell, I am Ice Lord, and Cat watches horror movies. And a massive shout out to the lad who's just there. Until next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.